And we're live. Welcome to Awakening Warriors. We talk about life, love, lessons, and learning.
We're back after another 2 weeks. Again.
2 weeks?
We didn't do it Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were going to try to do a live when we were on vacation. But that didn't happen.
Because, well, I'd say it's a mixed reasoning between us being not on top of it, and then also, like, even if we were on top of it, the likelihood of us getting it done probably not going to happen because service,
internet-wise.
So we would have, or we could have paid for Wi-Fi and, like, made a point to do it, but I was like, fuck you guys, you want to charge me for Wi-Fi? I'm staying here. So, what the fuck are you doing? You should have done this shit before.
It was fine when I was sitting down
fine when you were done, not touching
by
it.
myself.
Jesus.
No, that's good.
More tan than you.
Anyway, so back from vacation.
Yeah.
Definitely still adjusting in more ways than one.
Yeah. We closed down the bar like 3 fucking times, which is super abnormal for us. And
like, we will close down bars. Like, we closed bars like for New Year's Eve and things like that, but it's like that one night and then we don't do it again for like months and months and months. This was like 2 nights in a row maybe, and then another third night in there somewhere, and then so just schedule wise adjusting. And then I don't know, I could look into it deeper, but some things adjusting and me being back, like I'm just more sensitive. And
I slept in a room full of mold because you fucked up.
So the last 2 nights we were there was really rough.
Yeah.
Because one of the nights I like shut the big balcony door and it like bounced back and like stayed open. And so if it stays open, obviously that air's coming in, but then it also shuts off
It's humid as shit there.
the air in the room. So then we got back and I was like, oh no, I left the door open for a few hours.
There was like water all over the fucking
That's
floor.
dramatic. I could see your footsteps. It was when you stepped, it created
There was a lot of moisture on the floor.
Anyway.
Though. It was bad.
So that just irritated like the mold that was in the vent.
Yeah, like.
Which was pretty significant, and we learned is like a common thing in Mexico.
In that side of Mexico, yes.
Mm.
In the Cancun side, yeah. So now I'm all congested and I got a sore throat and shit. So I'm not actually sick. I'm allergic to mold, as most society is. And now I'm all fucked up and congested. So
I'm doing alright. I once in a while get this random tickle in my throat, like every breath in and out is like tickling me, so that's fun. But
yeah.
I'm a little congested, but not as bad. But that's it. We're back from vacation. That was fun.
She gonna piss me off.
Bro, she'll lay down. He's been a little irritable.
It's because of my sleep schedule, I think.
And then I'm sensitive, so it's been a fun mesh of individuals.
Get out. Out. Out.
So sad.
We should have dealt with this before.
Bro, she'll lay down.
Anyways, so last 2 weeks ago we left you off with a cliffhanger. Not really, but we mentioned that we're going to talk like about this week. Because like last week we talked about identity, so
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Kind of had like a multiple parter-ish of like related episodes back to back.
Yeah.
To back?
So, last episode we talked about identity. So to recap, who you are, how you operate, what you enjoy, things like that, right? So, in the personal growth space, like you often change your identity. You change who you are. You have different interests. You have different habits, and just you think differently. So that was one of the things that is kind of a struggle. It can be a struggle, but it's a very hot topic that should be, at least I touched on, because what happens when you marry someone at how old are you? 20?
I was 24.
24, and then 6 years later they're a whole new individual, so like you might not enjoy the same things because you have grown or you have changed. And I think often people will change regardless, whether for the good or bad in marriages. typically, like for our marriage, I think we've mostly changed for the positive. But that's not to say that you might disagree with some of my thought processes, or I might disagree with some of your new thought process.
Well, I was gonna say that too when you mentioned like you could, however many years later you realize you're married to someone new, that can be a negative. That can also be, I don't remember who said this, but that like you're married to a bunch of different people throughout your lifetime because the point is to evolve and change, and so that you're married that one time, but you're married to multiple different people because this person is changing, which can also be positive.
Can be a positive or a negative thing, especially.
Those are the options.
Especially, your response to it.
But I would agree that I think so. Majority of our changes have been positive.
Name one negative one.
You're less romantic.
Oh, less romantic. That's fair, I suppose.
Big gesture-wise, I think you do, and then we talked about that. I think the things you do now are like more daily things that like make me feel loved. But in the beginning, you were a very big gesture guy, and it's been a minute.
It's because I know how women operate. You just gotta make them feel special and loved and like the only individual
So
in the
he
room.
trapped me. He tricked me. That's what it is. You tricked me. But anyway, so yeah, I think like what you were saying, there can be things that like maybe if my thought process starts evolving in one area that you don't necessarily agree on, and there, I mean, a lot, as you guys probably know, there are things that we don't agree on already. But things can just shift and change so much so that maybe the other person is like, whoa, that's like way
this is beyond
left field.
Yeah, this is beyond my capability of functioning of some sort.
Right, and obviously to that point, I feel like it would have to be pretty drastic. I think as long as there's like, the no harm and things like that, you could probably at least try to be open to like hearing them out, but there are bigger things that if there
like having children, if like one individual's like, I'm to the point where I don't want to have children, and the other person's like, I know for a fact I do want to have children, then that could be, a reason to split up, if that's that important for, those individuals. So,
and I
think that's a fair split up too.
That I think you need to be very like, self-aware of where that's coming from and how you feel about it, because like for me personally, that has come and gone on both sides since we've gotten married. Like it was, yeah, I want to have kids eventually, to like, no, I don't at all, to like, now would be awesome, to like, whoa, hold on, not yet. Like, so for me, even just in that one topic, it's been very back and forth.
Yeah, and I think that's a topic where you're just going to have to jump in at some point when you're already in there, because I feel like personally, that'll always waver, I think,
Maybe. I went from I don't want kids at all to now, like I do at some point.
Yeah.
But
I think it'll always waver, though. I think you'll never feel ready, and I think, like there'll always be, like there'll always be a waver back and forth. Like now's a good time, now's not a good time, now's a good time, now I don't, now I do, now I don't.
I'm not expecting to be like ready before making that decision, but I just know I don't want to right now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway.
But you have to be. Oh, so like one of my things is, which I don't think this has really changed. I think this has always been a thing. Like I was actually just mentioning to Dathan in the text message, like adopting, because I just want to skip through all the shitty years. Like the first year or two, probably. Ideally, like I don't want to wake up and change diapers, and I don't, they don't do anything. They just lay there.
And see, you're not.
Fuck,
You're not like a sentimental person, because in my eyes, like that's all going to be rough. But then you're also getting like their first smile and their first laugh and their first words, and they're like, how freaking cool is that? That is like little human that we made is doing all these like firsts. And I think she can feel you. That's why she's being all uptight, like you're being uptight. She was laying down. Anyway, I think, yeah, and I'm open to adapting in terms of like where that sits in our identity or who we are. Like I'm so open to that, but I also want my own experience of.
Well, that's what I even mentioned in the text message.
Creating a human.
It's literally what I said. her own motherly, the motherly experience, I think I've said. So, which, we'll see, I guess, where that goes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. But I think part of, like, if you are going to be in a marriage, which we are at this point, have been for 5 years, like,
Practically 10.
you've made a commitment, and so sticking out some of those, like, changes, I think, is at least worth, again, depending on what they are. If somebody completely changes and, like, I want to go out and start murdering animals, like, obviously that's a big...
Murdering animals.
Yeah, people do that.
What the fuck?
Well, I don't know. Obviously that's a big example, but if somebody's like, I want to change my career, I want to whatever, like, I feel like sticking those out with somebody.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I understand sticking them out regardless. Like, the majority of things I feel like can be stuck out of, or through.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
there are some things that, like, okay, I don't understand. But also, like, even just the small things, like, the romantic thing, like, for the beneficial, like, you used to be this individual that used to be so romantic, and now you're this individual that's not as romantic. Maybe that's because, like, oh, you don't see the, I don't see the value in it or something, because now I'm not as sentimental, or, something, things like that, or, like, you or whoever, the other person, the other spouse, is now just more serious, and they don't laugh as much, and they don't enjoy life as much, or maybe they do love and enjoy life as much, and you used to not enjoy life, or they used to not enjoy life as much, and now that annoys you about them, because now they're having, they're like fun and playful and whatever else, and like, you're not who I married, stop, that's not fun and whatever else. And whereas, this other individual, they're like, I just like to be, mad and miserable, and, whatever the case might be, like, what about those things, like, that are just small, like the daily things, not even like going out to killing fucking animals. And I assumed you're not talking about hunting.
Oh yeah, no.
Or maybe that's even a great fucking example. Like, so you're like both PETA lovers, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, like, I'm like, you know what? Tom asked me to go out hunting because, he said if I just try it, it'll change my life. And, I go out fucking shot a Tom. And
Tom took you to shoot a Tom?
Tom, turkey's called Tom.
I know that. Thank you.
So, and then you're just like, oh wow, this is fucking awesome. And then you're just like, this is great. And then all of a sudden, your spouse is like, what the fuck, it's not you. You don't hunt. You don't kill things. That's why I married you.
I think it's hard, like, thinking about the daily things, like, the more, like, those examples you gave. It's harder for me to imagine being in that place because, like, you're probably more, like, lighthearted and playful, and when there's times that I'm not, like, I don't see that as a flaw in you. And I don't necessarily think it's a flaw in me either. I'm not trying to, like, hate on myself, but I'm like, okay, that is much more beneficial to be playful and be lighthearted versus what I'm feeling right now. So I think it's harder for me to, like, think about somebody who would be like, gosh, you're playful now. That's not who I married. Because we're very aware of stuff. So if, like, we're recognizing that that's a more positive trait, that is a, like, better way to live your life, we'll say. Like, we recognize that, and...
Yeah, but there's people out there that, like, are not in the self-development journey, and, like, for whatever reason, they just naturally changed for, enter here. And then, like, that's not, like, that wasn't agreed upon, essentially. That's not who you married. Oh, fuck. David, I think, mentioned, like, writing a contract for our marriage. Or, basically, like, a contractual agreement. Like, what we expect from each other and stuff like that.
I remember we had that needs conversation.
Yeah.
Like, needs that,
Needs that met are...
That, like, we will meet, that we will try to meet, and that we're saying we will never meet.
Yeah, yep.
But even that might have changed. Because I, like,
looking back I agree 100%. That's what I'm saying.
Woo!
What the fuck? That's my point. Now you're getting there. You're here. You have arrived. Welcome to the conversation.
What are you even talking about? I've been in the conversation.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, the need, whatever. Like, if you need someone to be grumpy or whatever, or when you operate that. Can you imagine if my mom just like changed the way she operated, or your dad changed the way she operated, or my dad, or your mom, or whatever? Like, can you imagine like these relationships? For and the reason I use my personal parents, and probably your personal parents, are because like I know how they operate. Like now, what if someone like totally radically just like stopped operating that way, and for whatever reason, it could be like a near death experience, or what something changed them, a grandkid child being born, or whatever, and then they change. Most changes happen over time, but some changes do happen overnight, and there's just like moments. I think most change happens in moments that happen over time, if that makes sense. Because usually it's like a split second when you actually really change, but there's like some build up over the years to actually get to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, a decision can be made in a moment. But anyways, what happens when all of a sudden you fucking change? Because, like...
You keep asking
me
that.
Do you divorce them?
No, I wouldn't. But that's me. That's what I'm saying. Like, sticking those things out because there is going to be change. The only constant in life is change.
Some people don't change.
Well, stuff changes.
Stuff changes, yeah. I agree. I think even people change to some degree, but they're just changing on micro levels. They're going boop, 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 and I'm trying to go, so like it's like they're never changing because they're always on the graph line, like a ticker.
Yeah, they're still in the like.
Yeah, they're still in this
line.
they're still in here, and I'm just trying to go.
I think some people would divorce people.
Oh yeah, I think most people do, and I think that's the problem. I think people change. Well, I think because if you look at the divorce rate, it's fucking insane. And I'm not even saying that I'll never have one, but.
And we've had this conversation. This isn't like
a
shocker to me.
Yeah.
Because I still think it would be harder for me to get to that point, but I'm like just in a different place than when we first got married.
Yeah, like, I understand. I don't think it would be it's not going to be like this knockout, drag-out fight. It'd just be like, we just talked about our new friends. Like, they've talked about, like, coming to a mutual agreement, like, is this working for you?
I'm not happy, you're not happy. Like,
let's just split up, essentially, because you can only work through so much, and then it's just like, it's not working. Like, it's not.
Right.
There's been multiple times where you'd been in a mood of some sort, and like it would just be, I don't know, I can remember one specific time in Allendale where I was sitting on the couch and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? Yeah. I'm like, what's going on?
It was like this prolonged period of time where I was like...
Yeah, I think it was like a couple months or something, and like nothing was changing, and I was like, and we never had a real sit down conversation. It would always just be in passing. Well, you need to get over your shit, or you need to do this, or like whatever. And I'm not even saying that I've never been in this. I just remember this specific moment that, we were sitting on the couch and I'm like, and you're like, what do you want, a divorce? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I was like, I don't know what I fucking want. I just know that whatever we have right now is not fucking operating and working for me because this is fucking miserable. And I'm like, and I'm not going to live my life miserable. And one of those things, the reason I say that is because in my personal opinion, so no one gets offended, my parents have a very miserable relationship. So I'm just like, I'm not operating that. I've watched that my whole life. I'm not operating that way. I refuse to. Like, I'm not going to stay in marriage just because, the Bible tells me. Yes. Because, yeah, exactly, yep. Like, I want to 100% fully, honor our marriage and,
Well, yeah, and that's obviously you wanted to be able to like work through that, or you wouldn't have said anything.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, that was the point in having, because I think people don't they don't have sit down conversations like they should, in my personal opinion. Like, all right, like let's set this time aside. Let's like take you by the hand and be like, listen, we need to have a conversation.
Because we even had one here, and it wasn't to that point, but it was like we had this conversation where we were both like,
yeah.
Because what did I say? I said something about like something love, and then I said, well, I'm not sure that we're in love. I feel like right now we're in comfort. And so, like, we even had that conversation. Like, it's not bad by any means. Like, but this is where we are. Like, that, like, passionate, in love with you level. Like, we're not there right now. And we have been.
Yeah.
And, again, it's not like we were, like, asking for divorce, totally unhappy. But, like, we were having that conversation even in this, like, neutral phase.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you have your highs and you have your lows, and you have your highs and your lows. And, it's just like a fucking constant ebb and flow of life. So sometimes you're going to be romantically in love, and sometimes you're just going to be like, meh, and sometimes you're going to be like, oh, I'm fucking over her, and that's just how it is. And, the point is that typically this too shall pass, and then this particular instance that I had brought up back in Allendale was a very prolonged time of operating. And I personally felt that it was more on your side of things at that specific moment than mine, and that's why I was like, all right, what's going on here? Because I'm like, whatever this is, and you literally changed within days. Like, it literally fucking changed in days. It was fucking just like that, practically, because it's been a very prolonged time.
I was gonna say too, like, the reason I think that, because I can remember that one too, I think the reason why it was definitely more on me too was, like, I was, like, okay in that, because I was just, like, pissy, and I was irritable, and I was whatever, and I was fine with it. And then you weren't really saying anything, so it's almost like giving me that permission slip to continue with my bullshit.
Because I was essentially giving her space, right? I was allowing her to, like, process her own emotions, process her stuff. Like, I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just like, because sometimes we all need to be in that space, and that's just is what it is. We need to process. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna fucking, because eventually, like, I'm like, she'll get out of it. I always get out of it. She'll get out of it, and everything else. And then she just wasn't. So then I was like, this is getting old. Something needs to change. And basically she, subconsciously probably looked at that as permission to act like that and be like that and operate like that. And then when I, like, literally, because again, you have to sit down and you can't just be like, stop being such a dick. Well, I've been telling you stop being a dick and expect something. It's like, listen, let's sit down and have, like, an honest, eye-to-eye, open conversation about, like, what's going on here, and move through this, and see if we can move through this, or see if, it's something like, okay, I need to move in this other direction,
I feel like I remember that conversation, because I brought up, like, the divorce thing, and then you were kind of like, I don't know, like, whatever, and that, like, which is on me for having that expectation, but I was, like, shook, because I was like, whoa, I never thought that was, like, an option.
And I think in the beginning of our marriage it wasn't.
I agree.
And it's not like I'm like, oh, I want to go get a fucking divorce and stuff like that. But it's more so there's less pressure on it, I think.
Yeah.
There's less pressure on it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like I said too, like I'm more open, especially again if it comes to that, like, super mutual agreement, like we're both saying, like, this is not for us anymore right now. Like.
Yeah. Because I think there's different growth patterns, and I've always thought, like, I'm not saying that I'm doing this, whatever, for both sides of, like, a screen.
For everyone on the computer, for me.
You've already heard it. Like, every 10 years you switch up your spouse to, like, learn, like, because they say your spouse is your greatest spiritual teacher. So I'm just like, oh, dude, that's so fucking crazy. Because typically your spouse will just basically trigger you because they know you the most, and they'll just do things that get under your skin.
They have the opportunity to reflect more to you because they know you more. They spend more time with you. So, like, things are very, in terms of them being a mirror, that's, like, very...
So my thought was like, dude, you can just change spouses every 10 years, and you could have, like, 4 to 5 different spouses throughout your life that you've, like, intimately, because my thing is, like, I could build more relationships like this, because I don't, like, this is the only relationship that I have like this, like, like my parents, pretty superficial, even my friends are extremely superficial compared to what this is, you know what I mean? So, like, I'm just like, I don't know,
What are you like?
Jesus. Fuck off. I want to build more relationships like that are intimately connected, like, and deep. And I think, obviously, being a guy, it's very, like, it's probably very hard for me to build a relationship that's so intimate, deeply intimate, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it with another guy. Like, I'm not, because I don't have, like, I need the feminine. I need that type of thing, for me personally. So I would never be able. I don't never say never, but odds are I would never be able to build this as deep of a relationship that we have with with a male, because typically it's masculine energy and shit like that. Like, my friends are good. Like, I have pretty solid deep relationships that I could literally talk to them about anything, but it's just not as connected, I would say. You know what I mean? So
Makes sense.
So that's why, like, the whole, like, switching partners every 10 years, I thought about, and I was like, dude, that'd be kind of...
How many you have in here?
I don't know, it depends on
you
how
didn't even want
I
to live to like 60, and now you're up to like 7 different lives.
Would make me live a lot longer. I got 3 more years until I can get to the next one.
Ay. Well, I mean, I don't know how I feel about it now, but I know that, like, after we had worked with David and stuff, I was like, looking back on, like, getting married, and this was a change, like, a drastically different change. Like, I'm not sure that I would have...
Marry you.
Yeah, but not in the sense that, like, I wouldn't still be with you, but, like, that, like, let's get this piece of paper for the government to see our marriage is sanctified, like...
Yeah, we've already talked about getting separated.
We have, kinda. You brought it up once, and now I'm more open to the idea given the purpose.
I told you the purpose a long time ago.
Yeah, but now I know more.
Now I know other people that have done it.
Or tried.
It's mainly for financial reasons, because you get, like, if you're separated, then you can have, like, way better. Way better.
Just better?
Better. I'm picking up on some poor speaking habits here in South Dakota, bro. It's not good.
So just better.
Yeah, better. Better financial. It can put you in a better financial positions to make different moves. Essentially, is what it was. And I had never heard that. And then I follow a lot of financial stuff and this video, and he was basically talking about it, and I was like, no shit. I'm like, well, that makes sense. And I'm like, hey, let's get a divorce.
That's like literally how he like, hey, so what do you think about
getting a divorce?
What?
Yeah,
Right?
and I didn't know the difference between legal separation. I still don't fully understand, because I haven't even looked into it, but divorce and legal separation or whatever, so.
Yeah. Anyway, so like even some of that just like quote unquote foundational stuff has changed for you and I.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people could say that that's big stuff. But we've always moved in the same direction because I think we've had the same influences. So, like, we're not completely on the same page. I'm probably on page 10, you're probably up on page 8, maybe.
Wow!
Yeah.
That's more than I thought you were going to give me.
So, like, it's not that bad.
Not that bad.
Bro, you're in a really mocking mood, and it's really hurting my feelings. Right here, today. What do you have to say about that?
I'm sorry.
No, you're not. Anyways. Oh, fuck, what were we going on?
Changing, divorcing or not, working through the things.
Yeah, but I feel like we just went on a little tangent with the whole separation thing, but before that, I was at, basically something else. Man, I can't remember now. But yeah. Oh, here we go. You got it or no?
No,
okay.
I don't. I just have something.
So, like, when we got married, we had this whole conception of, like, what you do in society, how you operate in society, and all this stuff. And I've always been like the rebel in a sense. Anyways, I've never really agreed upon what they put upon me. But at this point in my life, I was like very conformed in this one part of ideology, in the marriage concept and over everything else. And then so, like, this is what you do: you get married, or you buy a house, you have kids, and then you live happily ever after. Like, that's how you live your life. And, like, almost like, so I was like, okay, cool, this is what we're doing, and like, It's not what you have to do. You can fucking
You can do
operate
whatever
however
you want. It's
you
your
can do whatever
marriage.
the
It's your life.
Yeah, you don't have to get married if you don't want to. You know, like you can literally do anything you want, and you don't have to fucking do anything that society tells you. And even though it's super weird, like, you know, I don't necessarily agree with this, but if you want to be gay, be gay. You know, like, again, I've said this multiple times. As long as your whatever you're doing does not infringe on anybody else, that's the key. You know, so like, you want to go start fucking animals or touching kids or whatever, like, now I got a fucking problem because now you're infringing on somebody else's livelihood, like how they live their lives, and that's bullshit in my opinion. But if you got two gay guys that, you know, consent to that, do whatever you want to do, that has nothing to do with me. If there's an afterlife and, you know, God doesn't like that, that's going to be on you, and that's your thing to deal with. It has nothing to do with me. Nothing.
And then it comes back to if, like you said, so.
Yeah, which I believe there's definitely an afterlife, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind.
Which I guess that is such a broad term that I also agree in afterlife.
I know, you have a hard time understanding. It's
heaven
kind of
and
like the
hell.
technology thing for you. Like,
Oh my gosh! Yeah, but the afterlife you're speaking of, and if God wants to punish that, you're speaking of heaven and hell, and...
no, I'm talking about fucking Muslims don't agree with that shit either, and, you know, like, you fucking...
Don't they believe in heaven and hell?
No, it's not called heaven and hell. I don't know what it is.
Anyway...
But the point is, like, if there's an afterlife and there are consequences for your actions, you have to deal with that. That's my point.
I know.
And then you were confused. And
I was not confused, but thank you for putting that projection onto me. Continue.
You seemed confused.
Continue.
You gave the illusion of being confused. You know. So, and then we hired a coach, specifically a transformational coach, and you know, he's like, you know, that's what people do. Like, that's, you know, people do this, they follow in their parents' footsteps, and they do this and that, and, you know, it's not, you don't have to do that. And I was like, oh, it makes so much sense. I keep thinking about the discussion we had with Pastor. Like, so I'll just throw that out there because it's fucking funny, and it's just like very prominent.
It is funny. That's a good story.
So when I got married, when we were getting married, I always had a thing like, why can't you have multiple wives? You know, because I was very like biblical driven then. So when I was very biblical driven, I'm like looking for the things that, like, you know, benefit me, I guess, in a sense, right? You know, to a degree. Like, I had, you know, men like having many women around, essentially, or sexual partners, whatever you want to call it. They enjoy just having the presence of many women. So, I was like, well, why can't you have, you know, numerous wives? And he's like, well...
Something has to do with the New Testament, right?
Yeah, basically he had no answer.
Because your example is always King Solomon.
King Solomon
had thousands of... I think they weren't wives, though, all of them. They were like wives and concubines, which basically you just impregnate. But, so that's always your example. Cause like, what about King Solomon?
Yeah.
And I think something had to do with...
He's the most prominent example.
Him being in the Old Testament, something... I don't know.
Which basically meant nothing at the end of the day. He didn't have, honestly, a good reason or a good answer. And literally, we're in marriage counseling here, like pre-marriage counseling. Mm-hmm. And you know, this is where you ask your questions.
And I'm like, I already knew this. Like, this is no surprise.
Yeah. Because we were at that point, we were pretty open. Like, we weren't as open as we are now, but we were
pretty freaking open though.
Yeah,
when all the bombs were dropped. And
everything was, a lot of the stuff was laid out on the table, you know. And then, so I think that's where, like, the beginning of our openness had started. And so, you know, I don't know if I told you I was going to ask him that.
I feel like you did tell me, but I was like, dude, like, come on, like, blah, blah, and then we're in there, and then you do. I think you told me you're going to.
And, you know, he's sitting in his desk, she's sitting here, and I'm sitting in front of him.
He's like, all right.
All right, I got a question.
He's like, shoot, go ahead.
Yeah, he's probably going to think it's like something like, oh, how do you manage money with your marriage or some shit like that.
Oh, so funny. Even that's like, because we talked about that, like the money situation, and I think we're pretty unconventional in that sense too. Like,
No,
we don't.
I think we're pretty conventional.
You think?
I think we're pretty conventional. I think most people have their
I'm
money together.
so aware of what you buy. There's
What's
like
that?
I'm so aware of what you buy. There's nothing that's ever like hidden from me. It's not like my
Oh.
husband shows up and he bought a boat. Cool.
In that sense, yeah. I think I would go out and buy something as long as there was probably like a discussion at some point, but I would like be like, oh, I found this really good deal. I'm gonna fucking buy this, and then I'm just gonna bring it home and surprise her. You know, like it probably already had been discussed or something.
Anyway,
or like a gun, or I bought guns and
yeah.
like I'd just be like, hey, I bought this gun, but I'm not hiding this gun. You would never even know. Like I could just stick a gun in my fucking safe, and I would never have to tell her, and she would have no idea.
You could even pull them all out in front of me, and I still would be like,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah. So like, but it's just not how I choose to live my life. Like I don't see the point. Like, you know, now if we were in like financial fucking shambles and I'd be like, you know, I'd be out buying guns and stuff, like I wouldn't expect her to be like, what the fuck are you doing? We didn't need another gun. We need food on the table.
There was a bit there I was like, which we weren't in financial room, and I still was like, another one?
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
Yeah, because I went on a spree there for a hot minute.
Yeah.
I bought one, but I haven't bought one in a while.
I feel like Paul was living vicariously through you.
Yeah, now I'm living vicariously through Paul, because Paul bought a couple now.
Did he?
Yeah, but I haven't bought any, because that's what I was like looking at that one gun that Paul was like, hey, do you want, you don't have this one yet?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't have a sniper. You're right. I was like, oh, like, no. The last one I bought was right before we left from Gabe, and that was that old rifle. But I also gave up a gun, but I also had to pay, it was an undervalued gun compared to what the gun is I got from him. So, but honestly, guns are typically good investments because they always hold their value. Like
Financial
guns,
tip.
yeah, guns don't, as long as you buy quality guns, don't buy shitty guns. Buy quality guns, and they'll typically go up in value. Like, you know, I look at what my dad used to tells me what these other guns that he fucking, like, I gotta bought this fucking, you know, Ruger Cobra or whatever it was, Anaconda, for fucking this much money, and now it's like a $4,000 gun. He got it bought it for $400. Like, shit. Like, damn.
Okay,
So,
on a tangent.
yeah, for sure. But it's a good one. It's guns. So anyway, but yeah, so like.
Aw, she wants to lay on stuff.
Yeah, my stuff.
I know, she loves you.
The point
All
is.
the ladies do.
The point is, all the ladies love me. The point is. Can we make it a circle back?
Yeah, we can do it.
You know,
Change.
and I'll be the first one to say I'm still open to having multiple wives, like the pastor said we could. So you know, hey.
And I'm not quite there.
So you know, like, but if let's say that was a thing for me, like I need to have 16 wives.
Right.
You'd be like, well, you better move to fucking Utah. That's the only place you're getting it. So, you know, like, if that was a thing for me, like, tomorrow I woke up, like, listen, this ain't working, I have to have this. And you're like, well, listen, I can't give that to you. So, you know, like, that would be one of the big things, you know. So, like, the big things are the big things. Like, those are very apparent, you know.
Right. And I think, like you said, like, the little things can build up over time.
I was getting there. The little things,
you don't have to talk the whole time. I can say some things. Co-host, it's so funny you said that earlier. Then I co-host, and in my head I'm like, co-host? I'm basically like...
Every time you have the opportunity to talk, you mock me.
Sidekick, basically. The Montana Show.
The Daddy Show.
He's got daddy issues.
Daddy issues. No, I am. I came up with something really. I like chicks with daddy issues.
Huh?
I said I like chicks with daddy issues.
Okay, moving on. So the little things can build up over time to be big things.
Yeah, like the fact that I need you to call me daddy from here on out.
Oh my gosh, please stop.
That's a little thing.
Literally.
It's literally a little thing, you're right.
Hi.
We digress. So anyways, yeah, don't get divorced. get get changing, change with them. I think that's what's like helped our relationships so much is because we've chosen to join the personal development game like with each other. Like even like for instance, like we won't even share, like we won't even read the same books. I've never read the five love languages. You know, I never had to, technically, because you read it and then you relayed it to me and I understand it. It would probably be beneficial for me to read it.
I agree.
But the point is, like, you know, we'll just share tidbits of our books and, you know, so like we'll basically talk about the same shit and we'll have the same shit. So like even though we're not reading the same books because we rarely, at least lately, we've been rarely reading the same books, you know. In the beginning I think we did more so. We'd go back and forth and stuff, but now it's not as much. But then, you know, we've always hired a coach together, and we've always, you know, like you've always joined the calls on Sean together. You've always, like, if I find a good podcast, I share it, and then vice versa.
Yeah, or like Sarah's courses and stuff. Like I'm in personal development courses on my own that like you're not a part of, but I'm still.
Yeah, yeah. So then. And you'll be like, that's what Sarah says. and then, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So, you're such a beautiful smile.
Was that for real?
Yeah, kind of.
What do you mean? Why do you? Okay.
So that's our experience at least is, you know, if you both choose to be, you know,
growing
together. Yeah.
And I think remaining open as much as possible to stuff too, because I don't know, like looking back when we got married almost 5 years ago, like there are things that have shifted in our relationship or
you'd be
in
fucking
our
like
life
hell no, and now you're like, okay, I'm open to it.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And I think you're more open. Just I don't know, like small things too. Like you're just more maybe not open to, but more accepting of. Because you won't necessarily, like, I don't know if this fits, but my brain's thinking about it. Like me finding that book at the airport. It's a novel. I haven't read just a straight up novel in years probably. I read like the personal development type ones that have like, but even this one, there are things that I could highlight and underline I've even recognized. But, and so like, you know I'm reading it, so like you're giving me a hard time yesterday because you're like, I thought you were in here bettering yourself. And I was like, nope. But like in the past, like there would have been times in our relationship where you'd have been like up my ass about it and like actually mean, but like you're just accepting of like, okay, but that's also because I put in the work. I'm still putting in the work of reading my other books, and I have put in, I don't know, so it's just something small that came to mind.
Yeah, you've
like,
also proven yourself essentially.
Right, by putting in the work.
Yeah. I think, and that's where a lot of, like, this is almost turning into a fucking relationship, specifically a relationship podcast episode. But, you know, like, if I'm horrible with money, or somebody, or whatever, if a spouse is horrible with money, and, like, over the years, they've made poor decisions, or they've been unloving, or they, you know, insert here, this action, and this action rubbed that person the wrong way, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to change this action. If you've had, like, 2 weeks of, you know, positive, you know, changing of that habit or personality trait or whatever, and then like you slip up again, you might as well expect that you're going to get some backlash because like you don't have like the years of consistency. Like you haven't. It's been forever since you've read a book, and then you picked it up off of a whim just because like it was laying there, you know, because someone had left it there for someone else to read, and like okay, cool. Well, I also understand the concept of like nothing is a, you know, coincidence, you know, so maybe you're supposed to be reading that book. I don't fucking know.
I also just didn't have the brain power for like a personal development book. I was
yeah.
I mean, I'm down to read, but I know I wouldn't have been able to retain my other books. So I was like, sure, I'll start this one.
Yeah. So, you know, like, whatever. Like, now, in the beginning, I think you used to read, like, a lot of dumb books, and then I was like, why are you reading so many fucking stupid books? I'm like, Jesus. Because there are, like, Dathan, when I was just having a conversation with Dathan, and he said he started reading fiction. And I was like, interesting. And he said that he finds value in it. And he's like, I used to only read books that, like, self-help books because, or, you know, Christian books or whatever books that he likes, specifically because, like, he sees the value in learning, and he never saw the value in fiction. I was like, maybe I should pick up
Well, that's
the fucking novel.
Even reading this one, like I said, like there's probably only been a handful, but there are like lines or things that are said that I was like, oh, that's good. Like it's a personal development line. Like I said this to you the other day, but it kind of like stuck with me because the girl's talking about how she's tired and her aunt's like, tired people tire people. And so I was like, oh, okay, so like if I'm feeling tired and I'm whatever, like I don't need to be expressing that to you. And or she was like, bored people bore people. And then we like heard that again just yesterday. Something said like that. Boring. What did you say?
I'm pretty sure that was this morning.
Bored people are boring people or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just like there's little nuggets even in this like novel book that is about star-crossed sisters, lovers, I don't know, who are in Italy with their aunt. Like it has nothing to do with like straight up personal development, but like there are things that are said with that this aunt, she's like this spunky little live your life kind of lady, so she's like telling her younger nieces these cool things, and I'm like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway, another tangent.
Yeah. So if you got the track history, you know, like, you can step out of the character here and there is
Right.
basically that thought process at least, you know, like it makes sense. So, yeah, I mean, people are gonna change for the most of the time. People are gonna change, like just whether it's good or bad, and then you have to decide whether you know want to keep that around. Because even like in your friends group, you know, we've talked about that, like, you know, like you're gonna change your friend group because, like, you know, for instance, like, you know, if everybody's going to fucking Florida on vacation as a friends group and you're broke as shit, then guess what? You're not going. You're not going to fucking Florida with all your friends. So odds are they're probably not going to be your friends for very long, because if you can't financially keep up, then that's it, you know. Or even the same, you know, like same thing, like if all your friends are doing fitness things on the weekend and you can't get off the couch, then you're probably not going to stay friends with them for very long, you know. So like, and then like people just change. So the point is to change with the cool people, change for the better, because you know it just is what it is. It's inevitable. Like this too shall pass, you know. That was an epiphany that David gave me, because I had heard that before, but I'd never heard about that in like the positive sense, you know, like, hey, this experience will pass. And I even thought about that in Mexico. I'm like looking around at the trees, and I'm like, you know, because when you first get there, it's like, oh,
it's like everything's in like Technicolor, and it's just like,
yeah, everything's like super bright and like profound. It's like almost like you're high almost, you know what I mean? Because it's just like, oh, I'm like, fucking hey, I'm like, this is sweet.
It's pretty.
And then, like, that one day, I remember I touched the tree, and I was like, it's weird how it eventually wears off on you, you know? So, and then it's just, I don't know, just different. So, I don't know what I was going with that. What was my point?
Oh, this too shall pass.
Oh, yeah, this too shall pass, yes. So, you know, like, I had thought about that. I'm like, okay, cool. This new excitement, whatever else, this too shall pass. And then eventually it did pass, you know? So,
right, because like, that goes for the good stuff too. Not just the storms, but also when it's
people usually
sunny.
Say it like in the storms because like they're miserable or whatever and they want it to pass.
It's like a reminder, this will be over.
This will be over soon.
But remembering that when things are good too, because it will.
Yeah.
It'll pass. It does. But then it comes back to like.
It's kind of where the ebbs and flows come in, you know? Like, we're super in love, and then, you know, I want to fucking wring your neck, and I want to punch you in the face, and whatever else. And then, yeah, so it just constantly goes. Like, because, like, right now, we're not, I don't know, we're super in love, but, like, we're flowing well, you're kind of playful, so you're doing well there, and, you know, like.
I'm definitely feeling more myself. Like, Friday, I was, like, tired and grumpy, and we were not flowing.
A lot.
Oh, yeah, I did cry.
Yeah, and I was, like, just short patience, but I wasn't near as...
You're irritable.
Yeah. So,
but anyway.
Yeah. That's it, I think.
I think so.
So, the point is, again, is to just be open to specifically your spouse's change, but like even other people, you know, like whatever they change, because, you know, your friends might become vegan or whatever else, and I'm not being friends with those vegans, but, you know, like, I'm probably open to it. Oh, as long as you're not annoying about it.
I think you're pretty safe in South Dakota.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so congested right now. I gotta like breathe through my mouth. So that's it, guys. Just be open to change and be open to your spouse's change, because odds are they will want different things throughout life. And, you know, if you can give it to them, then, you know, do your best. But
And it's definitely more fun when you, like, that's what I was thinking earlier with, like, the remaining open. Like, when we are choosing to, like, move into some new territory together, like, it's been positive experiences.
I would also say don't put pressure on those things that you want, and you know, it like super like hardcore. Like, you know, if you
Let
want
things
kids,
organically.
yeah, if you want kids, like, you know, just openly have a sit down conversation and say, hey, I want children. And if I was like, I don't think so, and you know, just give it time, let it develop. You know.
Well, right, so
You know,
you
I'm not
both know
saying-
where you stand versus me every day being like, when do you need a baby? Like, what are we gonna, like, that
Yeah.
would totally turn you off. Too.
Yeah, but also just like they might change anyway. So like even if I were to say no, I would be, or if I wanted a kid and you were you know, you didn't want a kid, I'd be like, okay, even you were like dead no, and I'd be like, okay, well, let's just give this 4 months and revisit this conversation and see if, you know, you feel the same way. And then, you know, maybe then if you're still in the same spot, then we say, okay, well, maybe we should start, you know, considering, you know, separating, because this is very important to me and that's obviously very important to you. You know, it's just like mutually having an understanding. Like, I understand that this someone would want a kid, and I don't understand why someone don't want a kid. You know, like, that's okay. Both are okay situations, and you know, if they're not gonna mesh, then it isn't gonna mesh. But don't just be like, I want a kid, you need to give me a kid now, or pressure the kid, or, you know, whatever the situation is. Just
Bring it up all the time.
yeah, just allow it to, you know. And there's also like there's things like reminders, you know, like joking around or whatever else. And like, well, you know, if we had a kid, the fucking kid could take out the trash, you know, like, because those are legitimate things too. Like, you know, because that's like a legitimate, you know, saying, I guess. Like, that's something that would change their life, you know, like, oh wow, kid could do a lot around here. Like, that would be super helpful. Maybe that's me. I don't have time for a kid. You know, and you're just like, oh wow, you know, if I had a kid, maybe they could do the laundry and do the dishes and do the fucking cleaning.
You just have a kid so you can have a slave.
You know what I mean? Like
No.
as long as you're not like aggressively pressing on to those things, and you're just like saying, hey, you know, dropping soft hints, I would say, like very easygoing hints, then that's fine. But don't like bring it up every fucking day and pound, right?
Right.
You know, be open to those things. I think that's a huge key too. So, don't just say, okay, well, this isn't gonna work because that. You know, have a sit down conversation, and then if you guys are not on the same page, you know, again, when you guys revisit it, and then that would be the time to consider, you know, going separate ways. So, and I am not a therapist.
I was gonna say, this might be how he wants our, like, things, but obviously in your marriage and your relationship.
Do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not my marriage, so you can do whatever you want to do. I was just relaying what has worked for us.
And I wouldn't say that we've done a ton of the, like, let's revisit this at this time.
No, we
But
haven't.
I don't think we've needed to either.
No, but I do think that would be a good, if we did, that would be the way I would suggest that we do it. You know, I'd be like, all right, well, you know, because if you were like, I need a kid. Like,
Well, yeah, that's like a time sensitive ish.
Yeah, like, you know, because if like,
I'm almost 30, y'all. See, subtle hint. Soft, easygoing hint. I'm just kidding.
I hear chicks can have like babies in their 50s.
Oh, people do. People have
Yeah.
older. And people just say that like your body's more ready for it when they're younger and you have more energy. Remember, what's his face? We were at Mike's and I told him I was like almost 28 or something, and he was like, "Whoa, girl, you better hurry up because you're blah blah blah." I was like, "Oh my god, I'm like 27 years old and this guy's like chop chop." Anyway.
So yeah, that's how I would operate it. I'm pretty smart on how to fucking make things work, so I've come a long way. I wish you could I really wish you could see like tidbits, like snips of like TikTok videos of me operating when I was like 18 to 20, 21 maybe even.
Scary
You'd
times.
fucking love it. You'd be like, holy shit, that kid's on a whole different level. So, but you can't, unfortunately. So that's disappointing for you guys. But yeah, let's wrap this up. You can follow us on Instagram. You can like us on Facebook. You can ring the bell if you're watching this on YouTube. And I'm trying to get consistent on posting our stuff on Spotify.
He struggles.
I'm not good with technology, so then I think it posts, and then it didn't post, and I was like, and then a week later, I'm like, oh shit, I apparently did something with the episode, but it didn't post, and it's...
I've done that a time or two, and...
Like, what the fuck?
I don't even think I told the world that our last one aired. Oops.
You should have just seen my face if you're watching this on the Spotify.
I put it up. I just didn't announce it was up.
Well, she'll announce 2 this week.
I will.
That's 4, but this is 2. 2 this week.
Okay. Thank you for being here. We would love to hear your insight or your thoughts or your questions or your debates or any of that. We are totally open for it all.
Yeah, and maybe there's a topic that you guys want to talk about or something that you've gone through, like an event that you've gone through. I could maybe,
if I remember, create a post because I did that the one time early on. Like, what do you want to hear us talk about?
Yeah. So I want sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me.
I should probably go back to that though too. I know some people wanted some more of the financial, which is totally up your alley, but investing and things like that.
Oh yeah, we can do
Information.
That. I'm a total fucking crapshoot, so.
Okay,
I'll be honest.
We'll figure it out. But thank you for being here. We appreciate you, and we will catch you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.